Hey guys, welcome back to Film Curious. Ashley here. This episode, Pete's giving you a non-spoiler review of The Mandalorian and Grogu. We actually recorded this at the same time as our deep dive on Obsession, but we felt we didn't want either to take away from the other. Plus, we will acknowledge these films are totally unrelated other than them being new releases. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this fun little chat.
Hey, how's everyone? Good morning. Yeah, so saw Mando and Grogu, and there's nothing to spoil. Like, there's nothing that happens that is overly consequential for the future of the show, and I think that's a plus and a negative. It's a plus because I'm tired of all these things being required watching for you to, know what's happening. Season to season, that's TV. That happens. That's fine. You're telling a long narrative. I get it. But asking people to stay up with this stuff when the last season of The Mandalorian was like 3 years ago, also, or 2 years ago. It's been a really long time. 7 out of 10. The first half of the film is way better than the second half of the film. And the first half of the film is kind of a Bond film. There is a cold open. You're in the snow, which makes me think of Bond films a lot of times, skiing. But you have a cold open. He's going after a target. It then leads him to go back and speak to it's not his boss, but like it's sort of his M, that's Sigourney Weaver in this. And she gives him the next mission. And then he goes out on the next mission and it's a Blofeld ass looking guy. So the first half of the film had a really nice pace to it. It was in it was in numerous different locations. So at least you felt like you were getting more of a scope than what you would normally get on the show. The second half of the film, though, really shrinks down to one location. It's kind of just brown a lot on the planet that you're on. And I think the helmet is a problem. I can't get past this. I think the helmet with this character is holding this character back from having emotions that we can link into. And if you're a Star Wars person or something, you're like, oh, well, you could read the emotion on Vader's face. Yeah, he had one emotion, pissed, for like 99% of that.
A lot of.
Yeah, he had that until like the very end when he had like the conflict, and all that. And then what does he do? He takes the fucking helmet off. So
right,
for him to really connect with his son, his like dying request is take this helmet off. And I, as a fan, my dying request is take this stupid helmet off because you only get to see Pedro in one scene. And it's not a scene where he's communicating with his son, whatever you want to call it, for Grogu. And you're missing you're missing out on all this stuff. There's a scene where he's kind of watching Grogu play with someone else. And it's just a shot of his mask.
Right.
Like, I get the intent, but I'd like to actually see this very talented actor get to emote and act. And we don't get to see that. And the show in the past, like, kind of tackled the dogma of the mask. And you thought, like, okay, he's going to go the other way because more than half of the Mandalorians that we interact with on a normal basis on this show, they don't wear the mask. Bo-Katan is one of the main characters. She never wears a mask.
I never see the helmet on that woman.
Yeah, she takes the mask on and off all the time. I just don't see the point of it anymore. I get it. It's part of his heritage, blah, blah, blah. But he's moved away from that heritage, and he's become like, you can become a bigger character than just where it started from. So I really do think that that's holding the character back. That aside, Jeremy Allen White plays a Hutt, Rada the Hutt, which if you're a fan of the animated series, it's very funny seeing this character come back. But probably the best character in the movie. Who'd have thought? Actually has like an arc that you get to experience a little bit, and you at least learn like where he came from and where he's going next. Everyone else kind of seems stuck in time. So like there's a bounty hunter that shows up, and if I didn't know his name, I don't think you will be able to know his name. Like, I don't think anyone says his name in the entire film, which is fine. You can, Man with No Name trilogy, just literally the man with no name, he didn't have a name. But it's weird. There's another character who's in it. If you're a Rebels fan, you know Zeb. You really know Zeb. He could be, going back to the James Bond thing, he's kind of Felix Leiter. He works for the big organization, opposite Mando, or that Mando sometimes works with. I guess you could say it that way. And you don't learn anything about him. Like, if you don't already know who Zeb is, you don't learn a single thing about him. You don't know where he came from. He was in the show, he was in a bar. He just showed up in a bar for a scene as like a little hello to the fans.
Right, I remember that.
And that was it. Like, beyond that, you don't know anything about this cat. And yet he's teaming up with Mando in like the first half of the film, and he shows up at the second half. I have no idea if these guys are even friends. I mean, they seem to be, but like, where'd he come from? Who is he? You got to throw the audience a little bit more information, I think, on things like this, because part of that, again, this is a standalone thing. You don't need to watch the show, which is good. But it also just feels, like it didn't really need to be a 2-hour movie.
It was like fan service in a way, if you're not going to...
No, the fan service is weird. The fan service, I would say, is something they've done before, where the directors of episodes kind of Hitchcock themselves into scenes. And in particular, they're like a group of pilots, and they're all sitting at one table and this and that. There's like the fan service isn't really there, which is good because I don't need that either. I don't need to be patted on the head. Well, I guess the Dejarik scene, that could be fan service. There's an entire fight scene that the visuals and the who is in the fight is all based on that chess game from A New Hope. That, unless you remember that specific thing, you're going to be like, what the hell is Dejarik? Like, I don't know what this means, which is fine. You can get away with that too in movies. You don't have to explain every single thing. But yeah, it was just the second half really slowed down. Grogu is on his own for a while, which is straight up out of a storyline in Lone Wolf and Cub. But I just don't think he's that interesting of a character on his own. And while he has some growth in that, like it's the first time that he has to really take care of himself and take care of Mando. Man, I won't say it because it's a spoiler, but like there's a moment for real nice emotional moment. And he's just wearing that goddamn helmet again. Says this is the way. And you're like, it's like the biggest whiff in the movie is this emotional spot that they could have really had a nice moment with. But they just won't take him out of the helmet. I don't know what the reason is. I know everyone's like, oh, well, Disney doesn't want to pay Pedro Pascal. Maybe, it definitely could be. It could be that his schedule also does not fit for shooting an entire film. But whatever it is, there's got to be a better way of kind of presenting this character, because ever since season 2, I've sort of got uninterested with Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. Just to go into it just for a hot second, then we'll get the hell out of here. At the end of season 2, you had Luke Skywalker save everyone because our heroes are useless in the show. So we had to have a nostalgic pat on the head that, no, it's okay. Luke Skywalker is the greatest, kids. Like, it's really stupid. And they separate Mando and Grogu in that. That's like the big, heartfelt finale. And then before the next season even started, they got them back together. They did it in the Boba Fett show.
Book, I was going to say, it's in the book of Boba Fett.
What a weird... Like, could you imagine if you were like, hey, I like this Mandalorian show. I'm not going to really watch this Boba Fett show. That's a little too deep for me or whatever. It's not my interest. And then you sit down to watch season 3 and you're like,
yeah, you would have no idea. I remember actually talking about that at the time. I think we had a remake, the old podcast that we actually had done that. I'm like, I remember watching the episode come up, and I was like, did we turn on the right show? Like, yeah. I really thought there was like some kind of glitch in the streaming platform. I was like, nope. They just put an entire Mando episode in Boba Fett.
Just to get them reunited. So like there's another moment of like, separation. Why do I care? You couldn't do it. You couldn't let it last for, an episode, an actual show. So that all said, it's still, that first half is still fun. The second half has some good spots, The finale is kind of fun. They're actually in the finale. There is this fight between Mando and two giant droids, and I have not looked into it. They appear stop motion, and it looks cool. It's really like the back half of the film is too CG and too swamp and too like muddy for me. But those two droids versus Mando, I was like, this is good stuff. This is really fun. I don't know if it was Phil Tippett, who's a stop motion legend, who like kind of famously lost his career when like Lucasfilm went to digital. You know, they were like, we're not going to do stop motion anymore. Everything's going to be in a computer. And they've, since then they've brought him back for a number of projects, and he's obviously done a lot of other stuff. But that fight was very cool, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And there's good action towards the end, but there's like a half hour where you just wish it was 15 minutes. And I won't go too into it. Has a couple of good moments of humor in there, but maybe it lingers along too much. So yeah, 7 out of 10. I was hoping I wasn't expecting anything more. I was hoping they would surprise me, but I wasn't surprised at all. And great thing though, huge marks on this. No post credit horse shit. None of this, stuff that Marvel has become so, blood tied to that they have to do it no matter what nowadays. It seems none of that. It's just this thing, and if you don't watch this movie, you can watch whatever happens next, and I don't think you will miss a beat. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. There's two arguments to that, because you should be able to go to the movie, see a movie, and then have a nice day. Thank you. I had a good time. On the other half, this is the first time you saw this character in a long time, and he doesn't change at all. Right. And that seems like a bad thing. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's more on the positive. I would watch this 100 times before I would ever sit down to watch Rise of the Resistance again. I mean, Rise of Skywalker, sorry.
I thought that's what you meant, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I try to forget it, that one.
Well, that's why I was like, yeah, that sounds right. That's the name.
But like Disney has to let Lucasfilm pick a goddamn road. Obi-Wan was supposed to be a film. They changed it into a series. This kind of feels like it was going to be part of the series. But since then, they're like, oh, we can't make $1 zillion on streaming? Surprise, motherfucker. No, you can't. So now they're like, make these into movies and pick a road and try to like excel in it. Because actually, I remember I was talking with my wife, Melissa. We were there when they introduced this film. And Jon Favreau was announced as the director. He's like, it was a big deal. It was like, it's going to be my first feature film. I'm going to be director. It's not directed by Favreau. Filoni, sorry. It was supposed to be Dave Filoni's first directed film. It's not. It's from Favreau, because somewhere along the line in there, things totally changed. Probably because Filoni is going to be getting a bigger position overall in the company. So they were like, you can't do this and do the other show, and look, you can't do that. We don't have time for that, or something. It's just like spread too thin. But it shows how sort of, I don't know, just everyone feels like announcing things before they're ready to be announced. Mm-hmm. And it's doesn't help anything.
No,
I don't think hyping a movie 3 years before it comes out matters. I just don't think anyone gives a shit. They forgot already.
Right.
They can't remember an advertisement that happened 20 seconds ago. They're not going to remember and like have this big emotional attachment to something that was announced 3 years ago. You don't have to do it. Just keep yourself quiet until you're ready to actually show something.
Yeah, I think marketing should probably be done full force 3 months before at this point with everything. Yeah. So.
Oh, and to people who don't go to that, which I'm assuming not many people, a lot of people listen to this. They probably go to the movies a lot. Oh boy, are people who don't go to the movies a lot being real surprised that it takes 35 minutes after a movie starts for the movie to start. AMC is an awful theater chain. Yeah. There are 7 or 8 commercials for the theater that I'm sitting in while I just want to watch the movie.
Yeah. There was a lot of trailers. Yeah, I saw both films at an AMC because these horror movies weren't playing at other theaters. And but they give you hey, you've got 25 to 30 minutes before.
It says it on the app, yeah.
And it's like, okay, but you still, if you're not going to pay the ticket fees, because who wants that, and you don't have their stub pass or whatever, you're just going to show up, buy your tickets. But then you have the problem of, there are just so many freaking trailers. So I guess like there's not that big of a deal of people sitting down during the trailers, but it does kind of, ruin the experience of the lights are turned down. People are still coming back and forth because they know that they have so much time in between when the movie starts and the actual, thing of the showtime. So yeah.
My eyes are closed at this point. I'm just resting my eyes until the actual thing starts. I'm going to start bringing headphones and listening to music until the actual music starts. So everyone who thinks they're making money off that, eat shit. You're not. I don't know. It's like YouTube ads. They're muted. I don't care about them. Anyways, go see it. I had a good time with it. I'll watch it again when it comes out.
7 out of 10 is I'd say that's a high review though. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I could see someone going like 6.5, 6. I could see that easily. I'd be surprised if someone went higher, because I would be curious as to what was it. Was it just seeing Star Wars on the big screen, which I think is a weird thing to just like give it to. I also think it's the usual with that franchise. There's this really weird group of people who like get so angry about this, and they think that there are like rules that it needs to follow and this and that, and get the fuck out of here. Like, these people, they're weird. They're very weird. And they just, I don't know how they find time in their life to worry about it all the time. But yeah. So yeah, movies. They happen.
Well, fan does stand for fanatic, so.
Yeah. So it's fucking dumb. Fandom is a real, break that down, dumb fan.
Had to change the end of that word. Hey guys, Ashley here. Thanks for listening to Film Curious. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more to come. I'll be reviewing new theatrical releases and new to streaming as much as possible, so make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again. See you real soon.